think that's all I have for announcements. Oh, I forgot to say this could be top secret. It's never top secret. You tell me something, I always blab it to somebody. That's why Chris doesn't tell me anything anymore. Okay, I've got a meme and I got a prophecy update. The meme's a little goofy, and here's why. Beware of those who say there is no hell and who declare new ways to heaven. And that's Joel Osteen and Oprah Winfrey both. They're so popular. People love them. They're great speakers, and they're friendly. They're Oprah, I know she gives money to all these organizations and so on. But you know what? Be aware. Some of the sweetest, kindest, most sincere people may be the most dangerous. And they really are. So you got to really know your Bible and understand that, because people can get sucked into this if they don't know their Bible. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14 says, no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Now, what does that mean? An angel of light, right? I mean, if I seen an angel of light, I'd believe hey, this has got to be from God. But no, Satan can be transformed into an angel of light. And his emissaries or his missionaries or the people that he uses also can be the most kindest, wonderfulest people there is. And if you don't know any better, you can get sucked into this. And so they tell you there's no hell. The Bible says otherwise, doesn't it? So let's remember that. Matthew 25:41, I think it is, so is one of the verses. Okay, we want a prophecy update. Here's our prophecy update. And her name is Levitt. It's Carolyn Levitt, okay. And she just had an update just maybe a few hours ago, and she's received the information from Trump, and this is what the information was. Let me read this. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt said Thursday that President Donald Trump will make a decision on the U.S. becoming involved in Israel's conflict with Iran within the next 2 weeks. I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. Levitt said at White House briefing, quoting Trump. Now, I think a lot of people want United States or to get rid of them nuclear, underground nuclear sites in the mountain there, but not everybody agrees with that. It's God's in control. That's what we all have to understand. So, he's been very clear, she added. Iran went for 60 days when he gave them that 60-day warning about coming to the table. On day 61, Israel took action against Iran, and as I just told you from the president directly, he will make a decision within 2 weeks. Levitt said that there have been 6 rounds of direct and indirect negotiations with Iran. She said that talks continue but declined to provide details. Asked if Trump would strike Iran if negotiations fail, Levitt repeatedly said that the president would make a decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. I mean, they kept asking her, and she had to reiterate over and over again. So we got another 2 weeks. So it's the second Thursday after this Thursday is the 2 weeks, I guess. So we'll see what happens. I don't think they see this coming out good for Iran. I mean, already what has happened to them already is bad. But let me go through a couple things here just to show you. We have a B-1B bomber, and we have the B-52 that can carry these bombs. And these things are pretty cool. You can't even see them in the sky. I mean, they have the radar protection, and the way they're painted and the way they're shaped, radar can't pick them up. So it's kind of cool. But these will carry what's called the GBU-57 bomb. And that GBU-57 bomb is made so that it goes through the ground, and even if you got cement, it'll go right through it, and it'll blow up like 100 feet under the ground, so it'll get to their place where their nuclear weapons are. You know how much that thing weighs? 30,000 pounds. That's equivalent to 7 cars. I mean, that thing's big, and it'll go right through the ground. Then they'll have a second one go follow after it and finish the job. So that's amazing. I mean, these things. Israel doesn't have these, but the United States does, and we'd have to use it to go take out this site. I think it's the Fordow site that they were concerned about more than anything. So we'll see what happens. Personally, I think that they should take them out because I don't trust these people. I honestly don't trust these people. Since 1979? You ever see pictures in the 70s, early 70s, what Iran looked like? You'd think you're in the United States. They dressed it just like you right now. And yet now they don't anymore. Now they have these hoods on and everything. It's kind of sad what Islam has done to them. But just last night, Iran bombed a hospital in Israel, down in southern Israel, in Beersheba. And here's what's interesting. Just hours before this hospital was bombed, the top floor, they evacuated all the patients in this top floor, just hours before, and then it got hit by one of these missiles. And so they didn't have the casualties because of that. Now you tell me if that's not God working through this. This is pretty amazing. They were amazed. So last night missiles from Iran hit the Soroka Hospital in Beersheba. Miraculously, just hours before, Israel evacuated the top floor of the hospitals, so there were no injuries. I mean, God's in control of all this. It's amazing. And okay, now I got a phone call where it's okay to be funny sometimes, right? So this is Khomeini calling up Trump, okay? So he calls up Trump, he gets him on the phone, and he says this. Khomeini calls Trump and says, "Last night I had a dream." By the way, I was talking to Jason the other day, and he was telling me about his dream. The second we said goodbye, I looked at my phone and this came up. So that's kind of weird. But anyways, keep going. Khomeini calls Trump and says, "Last night I had a dream that all of New York was in ruins with Iranian flags flying everywhere." Trump replies, "That's strange. I had a dream that Tehran was thriving, full of high tech and covered with billboards." Khomeini asks, "What did the billboards say?" Trump answers, "I don't know, they were in Hebrew." Funny. Okay, Jason, you got to come up and top that.
Yeah, right. Before I get started, I will address something that Pastor said. You do know what a secret is, right? It's something you tell one person at a time. I can also tell you that somebody who worked around B-1B bombers, we start sending those over, it's going to get real ugly real quick. Probably get real over with real quick too. So anyway, tonight we're in Ecclesiastes, start with chapter 4. If you want to turn there. If you guys haven't got the style yet that I'm trying to do here, I strive for a little bit of audience interaction. Jesus asked questions of his disciples, and as his disciples asked questions of him, I'm going to treat you all similar. So, one quick note, I am going to be coming out of the New King James tonight. Just as a quick trivia question, you guys know what the best version of the Bible is, right? Giant print. Yeah. I like the ESV, but I was reading out of that last week. I was having issues, so this one's a bit bigger print. Hopefully it works out well.
Older.
Do what?
That's a sign you're getting older.
Don't remind me.
Now the secret's out. There you go.
Yes, I am getting older. By way of review, we talked the first week about Solomon and his life and how that related to the book of Ecclesiastes. He started off good. He fell into idolatry. Ecclesiastes is written towards the end of his life, so you get kind of a flare of hopelessness, but he was also in idolatry at the time, so got to take a bit of it with a grain of salt. There's a lot of Ecclesiastes that is only true from under the sun, but when you start to look at eternity, some things don't stand up at that point. Last week, we covered the futility of fleshly pursuits in chapter 2, and chapter 3 we find out at the beginning with the song that the birds didn't write. Everything is cyclical. We are to enjoy God. In the end, everything dies. That's about the point of chapter 3. 4 is starts off with a bit of continuation from the end of chapter 3. So we'll stare and read the first 3 verses. Then I returned and considered all the oppression that is done under the sun. And look, the tears of the oppressed, but they have no comforter. On the side of their oppressors there is power, but they have no comforter. Therefore I praise the dead who are already dead, more than the living who are still alive. Yet better than both is he who has never existed, who has not seen the evil work that is done under the sun. Sounds a little depressing, does it not? I think so. I mean, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but which is quite possible. So we know people oppress one another. And I can guarantee you that the majority of people at some point in their life will be an oppressor and the oppressed. Don't always think of yourself a victim. Sometimes you're the instigator. It happens. It's part of humanity. But since people oppress one another, is death preferable to life? And I thought long and hard about this. I'm welcome to any other points of view here, because I know mine's a bit myopic at times. If you don't know Jesus Christ, I don't think death's preferable to life in any area. If you don't know Jesus, you have a chance to know Jesus, because this is like Joel Osteen said, live your best life now. Well, if you're living your best life now, then you're going to hell. So, yeah, you don't want to be dead because you still have a chance to come to know Jesus Christ. If you are a believer, is death preferable to life? Again, I say no. You have a chance to improve your standing in heaven. There's a lot to be gained once you're saved. Now, if you're looking at just the idea that bad things happen and people are cruel, if that's your only thing you're going off of, sure. And once Jesus enters the picture, it becomes a whole different story. Does anybody have anything on that? Because this one I went back and forth on many, many times. Anybody? No? Okay, I'll move on.
With life, you have the opportunity also to share the gospel. I mean, try to bring others into that better life as well. I mean, so
Yeah.
if you're dead, you're done.
For the sake of the camera audience, Keith said, with life you have the opportunity to share the gospel. We do get in a very bad habit of thinking servitude is a bad thing. It's a great and wonderful thing. We're all slaves to something. It's better to be a slave to a good master in Jesus. It's not a bad thing. It's a wonderful thing. Is it better to have never existed? Again, I went back and forth on this. From a logical standpoint, I look at it like the majority of people that are born in this world, unfortunately, are going to go to hell. That's a hard truth. It's frustrating to see, but that's the truth. Most people choose their own pride over Jesus Christ. And in that case, yes, it would be better for them than to have never existed. But using this as a conclusion because bad things happen and people are cruel, I can't get on board with that. A friend of mine told me a long time ago, back when I was in Christian college, his name was Ron. He's in his 50s. I was 19, probably had no business being there. I had no idea what I was doing. He told me, people are cruel, life isn't fair, but love covers a multitude of sins. And that has stuck with me since the day he told me that, and that was almost 30 years ago. So, next we're going to talk about the vanity of selfish toil or selfish work. Again, I saw that for all toil and every skillful work, a man is envied by his neighbor. This is also vanity and grasping for the wind. The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh. Better a handful with quietness than both hands full together with toil and grasping for the wind. Then I returned and I saw vanity under the sun. There is one alone without companion. He has neither son nor brother, yet there is no end to all his labors. Nor is his eye satisfied with riches, but he never asks, for whom do I toil and deprive myself of good? This is also vanity and a grave misfortune. So my first question here is, does all work stem from envy? I don't believe so. I'd be open to any examples you guys can think of to where if you can name me a work that doesn't come from out of envy. I mean, it might look like that, but what do you guys think?
Working as a nurse.
That's fair. Nursing, I think that's a good one. You're taking care of other people. So, Dave, what do you got?
If you don't work, you're going to starve yourself to death. So
Mhm.
there may be an element of selfishness, self-preservation, but I hardly consider that subset of envy.
I would agree. I mean, working just to feed yourself, I think that's part of self-preservation, not necessarily selfishness. That's just how we're made. It's not saying I want this person's stuff. What do you got, Keith?
Well, especially in men in Genesis, God kind of put the burden on men to till the soil and, be the protector, the provider for this family.
Mm-hmm.
And, for a godly man, that burden is built in. And so it's not out of envy, it's out of duty almost, that we have to work to take care of those that are under our protection.
Okay, so talk about a work that comes out of duty. I'll throw this one out there since you mentioned the word. What about military service? I know when I went in, I didn't want to go in. I was having trouble finding a job, and I wanted to make ends meet for a wife I was hoping to have one day. And I went into the Air Force. I was terrified of it. I'm thinking, I'm going in the military. I could get killed pretty easily. I just knew there was going to be some kind of war, and I was going to end up in the ground somewhere. Well, there was a war, but I didn't end up in the ground. But, yeah, it wasn't out of envy. It was out of hopefully providing for a wife someday. So I know other people go in out of a sense of duty to their country, but it's not necessarily out of envy. But there is a lot of work that stems from envy, don't get me wrong, but I don't believe all of it does. I thank you for the examples. It's a quick yes or no. I think I've come up with my own conclusion. I want to hear yours first. Is envy a byproduct of laziness?
No.
Okay. We got it. We got one no.
Envy, but I don't think it's necessarily.
Yeah. Kind of I got a maybe over here. Yeah, I'm kind of in the maybe one because I'll give you a hint. Marxism is built on this. Be lazy and have everybody else do stuff for you. You are entitled to everybody else's stuff and you don't have to do anything for it. That is the core of Marxism, and if you know anything about Karl Marx, maybe one of the laziest people to ever live. Yes or no? This would be an easy one. Can wealth satisfy you? I got a lot of shaking heads, and I agree with all of you. No.
It's funny because it can if you don't have it, because you always think it will satisfy you.
Right. Yeah. And you're always wanting more. It's just if you're lower class, you think I want to be middle class. If you're middle class, I need to be upper class. If you're upper class, I want to be more. I always have to have more. And you'll find out with any fleshly pursuit, it's never enough. The end of verse 8 kind of confuses me. For whom do I toil and deprive myself of good? I have worked jobs, I've had a few, where I actually enjoyed the work. I thought the work itself was good. I wasn't depriving myself of good. I thought the work was good. I don't see those as mutually exclusive. Now, there is some hard work, don't get me wrong, where you deprive yourself of good. I don't see that as a bad thing. It can be, but I don't see that as a bad thing. So, but keep in mind, like I said, Solomon's at the end of his life, and he's kind of in a hopeless state right here because he has followed after idols. So, should your pleasure be the ultimate goal? I'm getting a lot of no's on that one. Ask any of the prophets how that worked out for them. Most of the prophets met a grisly end, unfortunately. Even the end of the law and the prophets, John the Baptist met a very grisly end. So,
Got a question.
yes, please.
Well, I was just gonna say, isn't it our greatest pleasure when, people need to look for what you, whether it's a grizzly death or toils and frustration and the one with you?
Yes. Yes, I would agree with that. So I would say a certain pleasure would be the end goal, the pleasure of the Lord. Yes, that's a good point. I stand corrected. That's a very good point. No, that's a good point. I like that. This is one of my favorite sections of the Bible here. So we go from one end to the other, and you'll notice that throughout Ecclesiastes. It seems like a sine wave where he has these ups and downs all the way through the book. Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion, but woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. Again, if two lie down together, they will keep warm, but how can one be warm alone? Though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. There is power in companionship. There is great power in companionship. One of the things I admire about this church is how close we are together. I mean, I think most of us go out and do things outside of church together with at least somebody. And I think we need to be doing more of that, but we want to know each other. Examples of a threefold cord. I'll give you one, see if you guys can come up with any others. This may be not a very popular answer. Our government. We have the three branches of the government which was built on this principle. We have a Christian-built government. We're not a very Christian government, but that's how we were built. What do you got, Dave?
You kind of already alluded to it, but the founders used scripture as a principle for a three-way government structure, simply in a perverted sense.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a perfect example of when it's done God's way, it nullifies it, well, it at least dampens the dangers of the flesh.
Yes. Yes. Dave was alluding to the perversion of our government, but it was founded through the Word. Anybody else? Yes. Thank you. You knew where I wanted to go with that. My wife says marriage. I talk about a perfect marriage, and people look at me like I'm crazy, and I am. Perfect marriage is when both the man and the wife have their eyes squarely on Jesus Christ. Jesus is the bond between a man and a woman. Jesus is perfect. And if Jesus is perfect, your bond is perfect. The threefold cord of marriage. If you don't include Jesus, you're going to struggle. If one of the parties doesn't include Jesus, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle even with Jesus at times. But if both your eyes are on Jesus, there ain't no tearing you apart. I'll give a final one, and I kind of like this one. I like how we have things set up in this church. I really do. I think we actually kind of go beyond this, talking about those of us that have been put in a teaching position. Myself, I'm humbled and honored. Dave, love listening to Dave and Pastor, the senior leader of the church. I think we got a really good thing going. But I also think we went beyond 3. Because I got to throw 2 more in there, because the other 2 teachers being Carrie, you do a fantastic job with the ladies. And we are really grateful for that. Chris, you do awesome with the children. And we are really grateful for that, because, I remember back in the day when we were at Shine On, sometimes you could hear what Thea says. But now we got, the kids go back there, we don't hear a peep out of them. And when they come out, they're excited to know what they learned. And it's refreshing to see our children getting taught in the Christian way. So thank you for that. Thank you, ladies. So if we got a 3-fold cord, I'd say we got a 5-fold cord there. And that's not to ignore the people we have in ministry. Keith with the song service. You are appreciated, even if people don't say so. I've heard from other people how much they love our song service, and the other 2 ladies, my wife and Glenda up there with you. They really like how it's done. Charlie, and we're looking forward to getting you back as the door greeter, bud. Tony, and although Heather's not here, and whoever's stepping up to the plate, we appreciate all of you. We really do. And if we stick together, the devil's going to have a hard time tearing us apart. We keep our eyes on Christ. We stick together. Tail end of chapter 4 here. This one is a bit near and dear to my heart because it used to be a major pursuit of mine. Better a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who will be admonished no more. For he comes out of prison to be king, although he was born poor in his kingdom. I saw all the living who walk under the sun. They were with the second youth who stands in his place. There was no end of all the people over whom he was made king. Yet those who come afterward will not rejoice in him. Surely this is also vanity and grasping it for the wind. In short, popularity is borderline pointless. It is a fruitless pursuit. I struggled with this for a long time. I want to be popular. I didn't even care about fame. I just wanted everybody to like me. That failed miserably. Better a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who will be admonished no more. Never think of yourself as above criticism. That goes for everybody. I don't care what position you're in. If you're the President of the United States, which is basically king of the world at this point, don't be above criticism. But if you're going to be critical about somebody, be respectful to them. Don't dog on them for things they can't do anything about. Oh, you're too big, you're too small, you're too thick, you're too skinny, whatever. You're not the right skin color. Shut up. That's dumb. Make sure you have a point and make sure you do it respectfully. And even if you're critical of somebody under you, remember it's still somebody God created. You have respect for everybody. But never think of yourself as, I have all the answers. You don't. I definitely don't. And just this past week, I've had to change my mind on quite a few things because I was wrong. I don't like being wrong, but it happens a lot. God has ways of keeping us humble. Popularity is only for a short season. Maisie, are you still in high school? Okay. You'll be surprised in 5 years, or if you go to a class reunion, where all the popular kids are now. And that's generally what happens. Those kids that are popular in high school and everybody loves them, and star of the football team, head cheerleader, means nothing. Means nothing. In a year, they're forgotten. Who cares? But yet we search after it. We have these things on the internet, particular in stuff like TikTok and Facebook. It was just screaming, like me, like me, like me. But everybody's doing that. Nobody cares about you. They only care about themselves. It's a pointless endeavor. Like Solomon says, this is vanity, grasping for the wind. You're never going to catch it. Chapter 5, 1 through 7. This is going to get a little fun here. Walk prudently when you go to the house of God, and draw near to hear rather than to give sacrifice of fools. For they do not know that they do evil. Do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter anything hastily before God. For God is in heaven, and you on earth. Therefore let your words be few. For a dream comes through much activity, and a fool's voice is known by his many words. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Pay what you have vowed. Better not to vow than to vow and not pay. Do not let your mouth cause your flesh to sin, nor say before the messenger of God that it was an error. Why should God be angry at your excuse and destroy the work of your hands? For in a multitude of dreams and many words there is also vanity, but fear God. That's the first time he ends something after talking about vanity with fear God. Make a note of that. We'll come back to that in a few weeks. This goes back to, I believe it's 4 times in the Word, so I put Judges 17:6 and others. The actual verse says, "In those days there was no king in Israel, and everyone did what was right in his own eyes." I think for all time, everybody does what's right in their own eyes, even if they go back and later and say, boy, that was stupid. At the time they're doing something, they always believe they're right. I have not found a human being any different than this. What changes is when you redefine what's right. If you're striving to do right before God, then what's right in your own eyes should be what's right in God's eyes. That's the trick. Think before you speak. Don't be rash with your mouth. I must repent. I have been for a very long time very, very wrong in this. I have a knack of letting my mouth outrun my brain. And I come across very, very poorly to people at times because I don't think before I speak. I don't consider what everybody else may be thinking. I may assume they know something they don't, or may, even worse, assume they're an idiot and talk down to them. And I am guilty of this. Going forward, I am going to be trying to work on this. It's going to take some work. Dreams, I believe he's, in this context here, he's talking about ideas people have. Although verse 3 really stood out to me because I dream a lot. Oh, I dream a lot. Most of them are quite stupid. And they always never seem to have an end. But the first part of verse 3, for a dream comes through much activity. I do find that when I'm busy with the same thing the entire day, there's a high chance I will dream about it at night. I don't know if everybody else dreams. I have a friend of mine that dreams very little. I almost envy him at that at times because some of mine are pretty out there. I don't know, do you all dream? I mean, a lot, little? I'm getting a couple nods back there with the ladies. A little?
Dream, it's just a matter of whether you remember them or not.
Fair, yeah. I mean, well, for Dave and Keith saying the same thing for the camera audience. Yeah. Everybody dreams, it's whether or not we remember it. Unfortunately, I do. Fortunately on sometimes, but I'd say about a good 80% either are horrible dreams or pointless, stupid dreams. But well, it's good to know that I'm not a freak always. I do have a lot of dreams though, and I've wondered a lot of times, is there a point to them? Because we see in the Bible several times where God speaks to people through dreams. I wonder if God's speaking to me at times, and I'm hoping it's not the ones I consider pointless, because then I'm really in trouble. Well, yes.
Just a quick point there. I've heard the other definition of dreams, when people say follow your dreams, talking about aspirations.
Right.
What you're aiming for. And I could kind of see this as, it's not what you say, it's what you do that matters.
Right.
And so the aspirations, that what you aspire comes through the activity and working toward it
Uh-huh.
versus a fool who's just talking about it.
Okay.
That is kind of the way I sort of interpret.
Yeah, you interpret the dreams as aspirations. We're going to cover that in just a second. But yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I want the interaction. I really value the interaction. This is what Jesus says, and this is talking a little bit later on in the passage when he says, better not to vow than to vow and not pay. This is the words of Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5:33 to 37. Again, you've heard it was said of those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform the oaths to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Do you think he's referring to David or himself? Just throwing that out there.
Capitalized.
It is capitalized. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black, but let your yes be yes and your no be no, for whatever is more than these is from the evil one. That's Jesus' thoughts on vows. Don't do them. Now, about the hair thing, I mean, Dave's a little bit ahead of me on not having to worry about white or black hair, but I'm starting to get there myself. I mean, not all of us have a nice head of hair like our pastor does. Do what?
So you got a little shine. You got a little spot.
Uh-oh.
The difference between turning gray and turning loose.
I like that. Turning gray, turning loose. I like that. This is another interesting thing I picked up in here. God may destroy your work because of the foolishness of your mouth. That's a terrifying thought. It says there in verse 6, why should God be angry at your excuse and destroy the work of your hands? We should all be servants of God. He gets the last say, if he's our master, on which works he says these are good and which works he says are bad. And he has absolute authority over us to say, that's a bad work, that's gone. Be careful, whatever work you do to the Lord. And this is finally where we're talking about the verse 7 there, from in the multitude of dreams and many words there is also vanity, but fear God. You've heard that said, oh, he's all talk. Kind of what you were alluding to there, Keith. Many dreams, I'd say ideas, even aspirations like you said, plus many words, if you're talking all the time and you're dreaming all the time, what are you not doing? Work. You're not doing anything about it. You're saying, oh, I'm going to do this, and you never actually do it. So yeah, don't, that's futility. You just talk about everything you're going to do and you never actually get to it. I'm going to cover chapter 6 here. Fortunately, it's kind of a short one, so I'll try to do this a little quick. And I know I'm skipping over a little bit here, but I would encourage you to read this as Solomon gets into some Proverbs here. I'm going to trust you to read those for yourselves, if I could. Chapter 6, there's an evil under the sun, and it is common among men. A man to whom God has given riches and wealth and honor, so that he lacks nothing for himself of all he desires. Yet God does not give him the power to eat of it, but a foreigner consumes it. This is vanity, and it is an evil affliction. If a man begets 100 children and lives many years, so that the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with goodness, or indeed he has no burial, I say that a stillborn child is better than he. For it comes in vanity and departs in darkness, and its name is covered in darkness. Though it has not seen the sun or known anything, this has more rest than that man, even if he lives 1,000 years twice, but has not seen goodness. Do not all go to one place? All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet his soul is not satisfied. For what more has the wise man than the fool? What does the poor man have who knows how to walk before the living? What does the poor man have who knows how to walk before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of desire. This is also vanity and grasping for the wind. Whatever one is has been named already. For it is known that he is man, and he cannot contend with him who is mightier than he. Since there are many things that increase vanity, how is man the better? For who knows what is good for a man in life, all the days of his vain life, which he passes like a shadow? Who can tell a man what will happen after him under the sun? So you get the idea that this is Solomon's definition of life. Work, consume, enjoy, repeat. May sound bad, it can be bad. If you remove the enjoyment, it's work, consume, repeat, it gets to be a very depressing life. If you just consume, enjoy, repeat, it gets to be a very destructive life. Even if you have all of these, who are you working for? If you're working for God, anymore we have the idea that most of our life is spent working for the IRS. Just throwing that out there. No, we work for God. A paycheck's a bonus. This is something I'm going to throw at you guys, because this one I wondered, I don't know, sometimes I like to read the Bible and I'm like, why is it worded like this? Verse 6, it says, even if he lives 1,000 years twice. Why specify 2,000 years? I have heard, I have not done the math myself, but I've heard it's roughly 2,000 years between creation and the flood, and about 2,000 years from the flood to Jesus. And it's been around 2,000 years since. Did Solomon know something? I find it odd he puts out that time frame. I don't know if anybody else has anything on that. This just stuck out to me. So, anybody? Okay. Trick question, do all go to one place? Anybody?
No.
Partially right, partially wrong. Initially, yes. Yeah, we all go to the grave, but as soon as we hit the grave, absent with the body, present with Christ, everybody ends up in heaven, at least for a little while. Because Judgment Day, people get judged. God's doing the judging. We're going to be in heaven. Unfortunately, the people that did not believe in Jesus Christ, they're not going to stay there long. I mean, don't imagine this too much. You'll lose a lot of sleep. But imagine for a second, all you get of heaven is a glimpse. This is what I could have had. This is what I could have had. And then the rest of your eternity is in fire. Sobering thought. So ultimately, I think the summation of the night is what actually satisfies the soul. Work, food, pleasure, what? And Jesus said to them, I am the bread of the life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst. Boy, I like that one. I don't need to worry about anything. Jesus got me taken care of. Again, Jesus answered and said to her, whoever drinks of this water will thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water springing up into eternal life. Do you believe Jesus? Belief isn't just an acknowledgement of his existence. What did he say? Do you believe him? He made a lot of lofty claims. Claimed to be the Son of God. No man comes to the Father but through him. Do you believe him? These are pretty mandatory things to believe. Jesus Christ is who he said he was. And he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He died for every one of us so that he can bridge the gap between us and God. So, that being said, you know how I like my challenges. You're getting off easy this week. You have one challenge. Read 2 chapters. I'm giving you homework. So you want to get spun up for that. That being said, all you pastor, thank you and God bless you all.
What is?
It's working. We'll have to pay you more.
Huh?
We'll have to pay you more.
Triple my pay.
Yeah.
You get 10 times as much as you're
And you can pay me 10 times as much. I mean, for zero.
Remember that verse in Psalms 84:10, speaking about living 1,000 years twice, how futile it is was the point, I think. Now, why did he say 1,000 years twice? Why did he say that? But Psalms 84:10, and maybe David wrote this, for a day in the courts is better than 1,000. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the land's tents of the wickedness. So a day in your courts is better than 1,000. It's kind of interesting how that fits in with that too. So, okay. So thank you, Jason. We're going to do something a little different tonight.